Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for Broken Hearts and Empty Wallets. We are going to be discussing online dating safety and how you can avoid online dating scams. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you. My name is Rachel Murray, and I will actually be walking you through this whole presentation tonight. I'm a librarian here at Warren-Newport, and I've spent quite a bit of time researching this topic. In general, I always do our regular online safety classes, but this is a really important topic that's very important, I think, for more people to hear about. Online dating is a wonderful service, and it's a great way to meet people, but it also has its own dangers. So we want to make sure that we are covering those and make sure that you feel more comfortable going out into the world and meeting new people. And better yet, you might be able to pass along some of this wisdom to other people as well, and recognize the signs of somebody might be being taken advantage of online. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation with you. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the question button and ask those questions. I am going to be asking some of you questions as we go along here tonight, not personally, but in the form of some quick polls. But here we go. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you can't see something, if I'm talking too fast or anything like that, please don't hesitate to say so. I want to make sure we all get the most out of tonight's presentation. All righty. So again, my name is Rachel Murray. I'm a reference librarian here at the Warren-Newport Library. I've been here for a long time, about 20 years now. But I have always researched lots of different topics with online safety, but this is one that I find to be super, super important. So I wanted to make sure we shared this information with our patrons here at Warren-Newport. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Friends of the Warren-Newport Public Library. They sponsor all of our programs here at WNPL, and we really, really appreciate their support. They make a lot of our programming possible. All right, so we're here tonight to discuss the pros and cons of online dating, how to be safe with online dating, and what are some of the things that you should be watching out for. Now, many of the things that we'll be discussing tonight apply to any activity that you might be doing online. But when it comes to trying to find somebody that you'd like to spend time with personally, this is a whole different ballgame, really, because it involves a lot more emotion, a lot more sentiment, a lot more personal investment from people. So you want to make sure when you're going through the process of meeting somebody new, whether it's online or in person, you want to know what the pros and cons of that are. Meeting someone online has a lot of advantages. One of the pros are that you can meet a lot more people in less time. Also, right now, we're still in the throes of a pandemic. It's a lot harder to get together with people and meet someone new. So meeting somebody online gives you more people to reach out to. Meeting someone online is kind of a controlled environment. You're not put on the spot in the same way. You have some time to think about things. It can really be kind of a nice way to be able to see what you actually are looking for in someone. It can be a lot less random. You have a little bit more control over who you meet and from where those people are. You can also screen your dates in advance. You're able to really kind of decide in advance what you're looking for and decide who you might be interested in. And when you're reaching out online, you're reaching out to someone else who's also looking. So you know right away that both parties are actively searching for someone. So the benefits of looking for someone online really are numerous. There's a lot of good reasons to want to use an online dating service. What are some of the cons, though? Well, there are quite a few, and they are serious. So we need to make sure that we are aware of them. It's really easy to create a fake profile online. Someone can easily pose as someone that they're not. So we need to be cautious that we're talking to a real person. We can also see that some online dating profiles or social media in general is an overly processed version of someone. Somebody can touch up their pictures or tweak their profile or not be honest online. And it can make somebody look like they might really be something incredible when maybe they're just really pretty average. And I mean that in like the heart of a person, not in appearance wise. It can also remove some of the spontaneity of meeting somebody. If you walk into a room and suddenly your heart's struck because you see somebody that you find very attractive, you're not really necessarily having that same experience if you're meeting someone online. It can also be overwhelming. There are so many dating services out there. There's so many different places to start, and there are a lot of pitfalls that can happen too. There's been actually quite a few programs and news stories and movies that have been made about people having poor experiences meeting someone online. You may have heard the show right now on Netflix called The Tinder Swindler. It's actually been a very, very popular Netflix documentary. It is about 3 women who were all kind of taken advantage of by the same person who pretended to be someone that he wasn't. You might also have heard there was a short series called Dirty John. Great show, but very scary. Same thing. It was somebody that was taken advantage of by somebody who was pretending to be someone that he wasn't. So there's a lot out there right now on this topic, and that's why we're here tonight. To go over ways that you can try to protect yourself while still making yourself available to meet someone new. All righty. So who falls for romance scams? Who falls for dating scams? Everyone, anyone can fall for a scam, and anyone can fall for a romance scam. Over 56,000 Americans fell for romance scams in 2021. These statistics just came out today. I'll send everybody a new copy of the slides at the end of class tonight, because literally these came out this morning. In 2021, because of the pandemic, people were home more and they were bored more. They were trying to find something to do and wanted to meet new people. A lot more people were reaching out online. Unfortunately, that made a lot more people vulnerable to somebody who might have been trying to take advantage of them. So over 56,000 people fell victim to romance scams in the US. That's an 80% increase from the previous year. The average financial loss of somebody that was taken advantage of in a romance scam was about $2,400 each. The total loss in the United States was over $540 million. That's a lot. Romance scams were the second most frequent crime reported to the FBI. The only thing that came in higher than that were employment scams. According to the Better Business Bureau, romance scams are riskiest for people in the 55 to 64 age group. The reason being, those people tend to have higher amounts of savings. So they are the group that people target. Also, people 70 plus are targeted a lot more frequently as well for the same reason. And the median loss for that age group in romance scams was $9,000. So people are being taken advantage of, and people are losing money. According to the FTC, 68% of elder Americans' financial losses to romance scams were sent by wire transfer. Somebody was sending money to somebody who they had been talking to online, who had been telling them that they needed money. And because they had invested time and emotion in this person, they were sending money to them, and then the person disappears. Women are targeted more often than men. It's about 60% to 40%, but both men and women fall victim to these scams. LGBTQIA people are also frequent targets, particularly for extortion. Not everybody is openly out, and people will find out and they will try to extort money from people or just take an emotional toll on them. Like I said, I will send this new data to everybody, but the link for the article is along the bottom of the screen right here. So if you're interested, be able to visit this page. It's a new report from the FTC. So when you are starting to think of dating, with all the statistics I just gave you, it sounds a little bit terrifying. But one of the first things that you need to do is you need to decide what you're looking for. If you're willing to put yourself out there and you're willing to meet someone new, you need to decide what it is that you want to get from this experience. Are you looking for a companion, just somebody to spend time with? Are you looking for a long-term commitment? Are you just looking to meet somebody new? There's no single right way to begin a relationship. So you really do need to evaluate yourself, take the time to decide what's right for you. You want to make sure when you start looking to meet someone online that you evaluate all the different sites that are out there, decide which ones have the options that you're looking for, and then pick the one that you feel will be best for you. You can pick more than one. You can absolutely do that, but you want to put some time to invest in it. Whatever you choose when you're meeting people online, you want to not ignore your gut. If something is telling you that this seems wrong, that this person seems too good to be true, that this just seems like the person is pushing you too fast, don't ignore those feelings. You're having those feelings for a reason, and it's because your brain is telling you this doesn't quite seem right, but your heart is telling you, no, please go, do this. This sounds great. So you really do want to make sure that you're not ignoring those gut feelings when you're feeling like something doesn't seem quite right. Don't ignore those feelings. So when it comes to dating services, when you start looking and you decide that you want to try to meet somebody, you definitely want to evaluate what's out there. There are a couple of different kinds of dating services out there, but really the two main categories are what we would call a curated dating site versus an open dating site. Now, a curated dating site is going to have a detailed questionnaire. They're going to ask you about your personal interests, find out what you like and don't like, the kinds of things that are important to you. And they're going to use that to help determine who they try to match you up with or what kind of matches they present you with. So some of the curated dating apps that are out there are going to be things like Hinge or Match. There's eHarmony. There's another one called The League. There's a new service called Her. There's also one called Elite Singles. Some of these do have specific restrictions on who can actually be part of them, specifically Elite Singles. I think you have to be above a certain income amount to even join. So that might be something to consider. Do you want somebody who's going to put income restrictions on who they're meeting? That might be part of the whole equation that you might think about. When it comes to open dating apps, those are going to be ones where there's a lot less screening going on. Doesn't mean that there's no screening. You're going to find out who the person is. In general, the dating sites do make you actually try to make you verify your name. Doesn't always work. But there are other things that make these open dating sites fun. You can meet more people more quickly. You're not having different people filtered out. You can meet a lot more people from a specific geographic region. Some of those open dating sites are going to be things like Tinder or Grindr, Bumble, or Happen. They all have their own benefits and their own, negatives about them. So it does behoove you to take some time and think about what you would like from a dating app before you start using one. And as I said, you can always try more than one. You can try a curated dating app and then also have an open dating app and be able to kind of go back and forth between the two. One thing to note is that many of these dating services, particularly like Tinder, they're planning to try to offer detailed background checks on matches. Now, when I say detailed background checks, you're not going to get necessarily everything about this person. You don't have their social security number. You don't probably have their home address, but they're going to try to match a person to social media sites and general location and give you as much information as they can about them. A lot of people love that idea. Some people are a little more taken back by that because somebody can have a background check done on you. So just keep that in mind. They're trying to make that as an option. Most of the services like Tinder are looking at using a service like Garbo. Right now, Garbo is still a beta service, though. That means it's not a fully fledged service, and they really don't have it available yet. So they're still kind of doing their own screening from the company of Tinder or Grindr, Bumble, or the League. They're doing their own screening there still, but they're not offering those background checks. There are other services, though, that you can get background checks done on someone from. There's things like Intellius or True Identity that charge a fee, but they will allow you to find some information about people. So just keep in mind, those options are out there where if you are truly concerned about giving any information to somebody, you could do a background check before you do that. So if you decide that you want to do online dating, even if you're just using things like regular social media to try to meet someone, meeting somebody online has some pitfalls, but what are the things that you should do if you're meeting people online? First of all, particularly with dating apps, you want to be precise. You want to say what you're really looking for. Don't say I'm just looking for fun when you really want a serious relationship. You want to make sure that you're being honest with yourself and honest with the people that you may be talking to. You also want to be yourself. It's a really bad idea to lie about your height or your weight, your appearance, your financial status, your education. Starting off being dishonest is a really bad way to begin any relationship. You're hoping for people to be honest with you, so you want to be as honest as possible with other people. You don't have to be specific. You don't have to put your yearly income down, but you can be general and still provide that kind of information. Will probably want to do some research on potential matches. You can actually do quite a bit of research on your own, just kind of Googling people's names. You can also do a reverse image search. I don't know if you've done that before, but in Google, if you right click on an image, it actually has an option to go find where the image originated from. This is a great thing to do, particularly on dating sites and on social media, because people can take other people's pictures. That happens all the time. So you might want to try to do a reverse image search and make sure that this image isn't being used across multiple profiles. Make sure it's not a different name associated to it than what the person is saying their name is. You can always do little detective work on your own. We here at the Warren-Newport Library can help you do this. We do it all the time. We can help you look up court records on people. We do that all the time too. We can actually help you find out if somebody has multiple social media accounts. We can't find everything because we're using publicly available information, but we can definitely give you some pointers on how to start doing a little bit of detective work. When you're setting up your own profile, make sure you're using an appropriate recent photo of yourself. You want to make sure it's something that shows what you look like right now. You want to make sure that it's showing just you in your main picture. You don't want somebody guessing which person are you in the picture. So you want a recent photo of yourself, really shouldn't have any friends in it. Don't put your cars or your pets or other things or even pictures of your home in your main profile picture. A lot of people will put multiple pictures up and they will have pictures with friends. Try to keep it limited though. You want the focus to be on you, not who you're hanging out with. And that way people will have a better idea of who you yourself are. You also will want to apply for and get, well, you don't have to apply for it, you just have to register for a dating specific email address. We all have our favorite email address, but a lot of us have a secondary email or even a third email that we use for different purposes. It's a really good idea, if you haven't done this before, to set up a free webmail account, something with like Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail. Get an email address that you're just going to use for online dating. The reason being is if you meet somebody who really likes you and you're not so into them, you can actually ignore those emails a lot more easily if they're not showing up in your regular inbox all the time. So it's a great idea to establish a generic email address, have it be your first and last name, have it be something else. You can do your initials or something, but set up an email address that you're just going to use for your online dating. It's actually a good idea to do that for most social media. That way you're not broadcasting your email address to everyone. Next, you're going to want to try to keep your search radius local. You don't want to really be looking much farther than 25 miles away from where you're currently at. Depends on where you live. If you're in more of a rural area, you might want to broaden your distance a little bit more, but keep it about 25 miles. If you really wouldn't want to have a 200-mile commute between you and whoever you start dating, you're not going to want to put that as a search parameter. So try to keep your search radius local. Next, when you do finally meet somebody, you want to make sure you meet publicly. Go to a public place, pick a public bar or restaurant or coffee shop, meet somewhere publicly. You can even meet at the library if you wanted to. Go someplace where other people are around. That way, if the person turns out to not be who you thought they were, you are not stuck alone with them. It's also a really good idea maybe to bring friends with. I know several people who have dated somebody online before, and everybody, both sides, both parties show up with a group of friends. That way, if there's an issue, you have backup. So it's a really good idea to make sure you're in a public place and maybe consider bringing friends with you. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you are paying for your own meal and drinks when you go out with someone new. This applies to men and women. People of any gender. You want to make sure that you are on equal footing. So when you're meeting somebody new, everybody pays for their own or split the bill. That way there's no resentment, there's no feelings of somebody paid for something and now you owe me. You want to avoid that. So everybody pays for their own on your early dates. You also want to make sure that you meet up soon after connecting online. It's a really good idea to make sure that you're actually talking to the person you think you're talking to. You are going to want to make sure that you try to have a video call or meet in person so you can verify, is this the person in the picture? Is this the person who I thought it was? If they suddenly start making all kinds of excuses for why they can't see you in person, be suspicious. That's kind of strange. Everybody's going to be able to meet somebody in person at some point. Next, you're going to want to make sure you're using only your own personal computer or devices. Do not use your work computer to try to date people. Do not use your school computer for that. And don't use any kind of office-issued technology. You're really not going to want to do that. It's unethical, and it's also just a really good way to make sure other people are up in your business. So make sure you're using your own technology when you're talking to somebody online. Also, don't try to focus on too many people at once. You're going to want to make sure that you're maybe talking to one or two people at a time. You probably wouldn't feel very good if you found out the person that you've started speaking to is talking to 10 other people. So you want to consider that as well. Just try one or two people at a time. If you find that you really have more in common with one or the other, then that would be the person you focus on. But particularly early on in any new relationship, you really don't want to be exclusive. So try to just focus on a couple of people at once. And finally, if you're considering a longer-term relationship with somebody, do consider paying for a background search. Again, you can use services like Intellius or TruthFinder. They can actually give you background information and let you know, does this person live where they say they live? Is this person the age that they say they are? That's what those services are good for. So it's something to consider. So meeting somebody online, some things you should definitely not do. First of all, do not rush. One of the most common things that you'll hear about in people that get taken advantage of in romance scams or online dating scams is they moved very quickly. That the person immediately began flattering them, immediately began asking for their personal information. You want to go slowly. Get to know the person before you share any private info. Next, when you're meeting in a public place, do not agree to move to a private location. particularly in your first few dates. You want to stay visible. Do not immediately agree to go sit in somebody's car with them if you don't know them. You want to make sure that you know who you're talking to first. Also, don't pretend to be somebody you aren't. You don't want somebody else to be fooling you, so be honest. You want to make sure that you are being yourself. Obviously, we all want to put our best foot forward and be our best self when we're meeting somebody new, but you expect honesty, so be honest with others and use honesty with others. Also, when you're first meeting somebody, it's okay to be skeptical. Don't believe everything that you're told. Frequently, when it comes to dating scams, people will say things that are not true. They'll tell you that they own a boat that they don't own, or a car that they don't own, or a house that they don't own. You can reserve your judgment. If somebody sounds too good to be true, they very well could be. Not to say that everybody's going to always be lying to you, but it's okay to be skeptical. If somebody's trying to make you feel like, boy, you're paranoid talking to me with all these questions and things, or being so reserved with me, you can always consider that to be a little bit too much pressure. So it's all right to be skeptical. Also, don't fall for a sob story. Anybody who is right away saying, oh, everything's been so horrible, I lost my job, I'm so lonely, can't you be with me 24/7? Can't you talk to me 24/7? Why didn't you text me back right away? That's a sob story. Anybody who immediately tries to obtain financial or emotional assistance from you should really be avoided. It's not to say that you can't have an immediate connection with somebody, but if somebody starts trying to be manipulative, if they're trying to control your money or your mind or your heart, those are all red flags. So watch out for that. Do not give anyone money, goods, or services. That's probably the number one advice that I can give to anyone when you are online, when you're meeting people online, whether it's dating or just friendship, even through social media. Don't give anybody goods, money, or services. Be mindful of scams and scammers, but it's just generally good advice. Just don't lend money to people. I mean, it sounds awful and we want to be generous with each other, but loaning out money, particularly to somebody that you haven't known for very long, is a recipe for disaster. So if somebody starts asking for money fairly early in a relationship, that's a big, big red flag. Watch out for that. Don't bring your baggage with you. Everybody has had bad relationships and bad experiences, but nobody wants to meet somebody new and only hear about how awful their ex was. So if you have bad relationship stories, we all have them. Everybody's had them at different times. Just maybe reserve those. You can talk about things as time goes on, but you don't want to spend your first couple dates just talking about how awful the other people you dated were, because that doesn't reflect very well on you. If the person you're meeting is spending all of their time talking about how awful all of their exes were, the one thing their exes all have in common is them. So that's a red flag. So really be careful with that. Also, you want to make sure that you don't get pushed into any situations that make you uncomfortable. You can always say no, thank you at any time. No is a complete sentence. You can say that at any point, just firmly excuse yourself. This is why it's a good reason to stay in public, because most restaurants or bars are watching for this kind of a situation. They know that these things happen. And it doesn't matter what gender you are. You can say, I'm done here, walk away and ask somebody for help in public. Always ask for help if necessary. Also, good bit of advice is avoid sexual innuendo with people. You really don't want to go that way with new acquaintances. You might be joking, or you might just be trying to keep things lighthearted, but some people may take that the wrong way. So just, don't let somebody think that you may be open to something that you're not. Keep your discussions to be something that you would talk about at work. So you want to make sure you're watching out for the worst case scenario. I know we keep talking about people losing lots of money, people getting their hearts broken, but these things do happen. So you really do want to be on your guard for the worst case scenario. The open nature of the internet makes it a really fertile place for dishonesty. People can pretend to be someone that they aren't. So you want to watch out for some of the well-known scam elements. And that's going to be what we're going to go over next. We're going to talk about what those scams look like and what to be on the lookout for. Watch out for people that profess their love quickly, people that ask for money, people that want to lure you off the dating site, people that are claiming to have all of these emergencies. These are all red flags. So one of the first scams that you will probably find, and this is something that you'll see both on dating sites and throughout all of social media, people will want too much too soon. They will lavish affection. A potential love interest may suddenly be just contacting you like crazy. And they may not be creepy about it. They may actually be very pleasant about it. But somebody that is really fast to lavish with attention and compliments could very well be a scammer, somebody that's trying to get your information or your money from you. What I have here is a screen capture of an actual conversation that somebody was having with a scammer. They didn't realize it at first, but they figured it out eventually when the person took money from them. The scammer starts out with compliments and flattery. They're talking to an older woman who's not that much older than them, but is older than them. And they are lavishing her with praise. So it's nice to meet you. You have a lovely name. I have no pets, but I'm married but divorced. I'm very romantic. You like movies? I have to say you're very attractive. The woman responds and says, hey, you're really cute too. Thank you so much. I'm a bit older than you. But the person saying not that much older. So this person is really kind of laying it on a bit thick. Now, it doesn't mean that this is right away an immediate evidence that this person is trying to scam you. However, anytime somebody is really quick to start lavishing praise on you, that should be a red flag for you. It should be something that you watch out for. We all want to hear that we are attractive or that somebody finds us interesting. But as soon as somebody starts saying all those kinds of compliments to us, we immediately start to let our guard down. So if somebody is lavishing you with attention and praise, just reserve your judgment. You want to still be keeping in mind this person could be different than who they are pretending to be. The next scam we call blinded by the light. This is somebody that seems just too good to be true. They're super attractive or they're super accomplished. They seem like they're very wealthy. This person seems like they're just perfect for you. Their interests mirror your interests. They could do all the same things that you like to do. This is something to kind of watch out for, though. People that are trying to get money and information from you are not going to present themselves to be Joe Schmo down the street. They're going to try to get your attention. One of the ways that they'll do that is by creating fake dating profiles. Fake dating profiles are actually very common. So if you are seeing profiles that have really great professional photography, somebody saying that they're a model or they have all these pictures that look like they've been professionally done, those are something to watch out for. This particular example on the screen here, this was a fake dating profile. This is a real person, but her images were stolen. She's a model, but her images were stolen and made into a dating profile. The thief stole money from men who believed that they were talking to her. Wasn't even a woman that they were talking to. They happened to be talking to a man who just did a really good job of pretending that he was a woman. So you really need to be careful when you see a profile that seems just a little too good to be true. It very well could be. Again, it doesn't mean you can't talk to the person, but just reserve your judgment till you get to know them better. One of the next scams is mining for info. There's being interested in somebody, and then there's somebody being way too interested in you. You want to ask each other questions. You want to talk about who you are and what your interests are. But if somebody starts really asking a lot of very specific questions, That's a huge red flag. This is this screen capture right here is an actual scammer trying to get information from somebody. And she was asking all these kinds of questions, but you'll notice that the questions are very specific. And the reason why these questions are being asked is because these tend to be the security questions that people use for things like their bank or for their email address. The things that you are asked and you set the questions and answers to be, so if you forget what your password is, you can still sign into your account. These are the kinds of questions that this scammer was asking. Yes, my king, first I must know so many things about you. What's the name of your first pet? What's your mother's maiden name? What's the name of the town where you were born? This is somebody that's looking for information because they're going to try to steal your identity. So watch out for those kinds of questions. It's okay to ask where you're from or where you grew up, but try to be a little bit more general. You can say, hey, I grew up in Chicago if you're from our area. If you're not talking to somebody that's directly from this area, somebody's going to say, okay, well, we're in Chicago. That's okay. You can have those kinds of conversations, but be mindful when you're having those conversations of what answers you have put for your security questions. If you are having a lot of conversations online, you might want to go back and change some of those questions and answers to things that wouldn't be commonly talked about. One other thing is when it comes to these kinds of questions, people may try to get your personal information from you, your background. In some cases, they might want to know what your sexual orientation is. That can be a real problem because there are scammers that will try to extort people. So be sure that you know a little bit more about people before you really start opening up to them. You don't want to share personal information that you might not necessarily want the other people in your life to know. So be sure you are being conservative with the information that you're sharing. You want to make sure that you're not sharing more than what you might want other people to know. So a really common scam out there is the volunteer. This is somebody that's not necessarily volunteering their time, but they are a well-off professional or a comfortable member of the armed services. And when you're talking to them, they're telling you that they're in another country. All of a sudden, the more you talk to them, they tell you, oh, I'm stuck here, I can't get home, or this problem has arisen, or my family member is suddenly sick, or, there's something going on in this country, I need to get out of here. And they need your help. This is a very common scam. Unfortunately, military scams are one of the most common. The screen capture that we have here is Colonel Brian Denny. He's an actual person. This is his actual picture. He actually runs a foundation now where he counsels people on how to avoid romance scams because his image and his name were stolen and were used to create thousands of online profiles, which were used by scammers to get money from women. These people pretended to be Colonel Brian Denny. He's a retired military, I think he's in the Army, retired Army colonel. He's been married for years, but people stole his identity and his images because they were freely available from the Army. And they were getting money from people because they thought that they were talking to him. He's an attractive man. He has a wonderful background, very accomplished. People thought that they were talking to him. So he now actually runs a foundation along with one of the friends of one of the women that were scammed by somebody that was pretending to be him. It's a very noble thing that he's doing. He's out there trying to make sure that other women do not get taken advantage of. But this is a very common thing. People will find the name of somebody who's wealthy or the name of somebody who's successful, and they'll use that name themselves to try to get money or affection or just to blackmail people. So please keep in mind, if you're hearing from somebody that you've met online that they are stranded, they need your help, they suddenly need money from you, they need you to get them a visa, can you just send me a gift card so that I can, use my money for something else because I need to get home to see you, my dear. These are common scams. They will pretend that there's a sudden emergency that they need your help with. If you're talking to someone online, you can always suggest to them that they should be going to their employer. Military personnel are not left stranded places. If they're in the military, their transportation is generally covered. Yes, if they're on leave, they have to sometimes pay for their own transportation. However, they're not going to leave them stranded someplace. The same goes for people that work for things like Doctors Without Borders or the Peace Corps. They are not sending the people that work with them to another country and then abandoning them there. That doesn't happen. So if somebody is claiming to be with an international corporation that's stranded someplace, Doctors Without Borders, the Peace Corps, all of those things, those are not real. So if somebody is trying to pull that scam on you, make sure that you are aware this is not something that happens. The next common scam is the star-crossed lover. This is very similar to the volunteer, but this is somebody that you meet online and they constantly have an excuse for why they can't see you. You've talked to them a lot, you've had a lot of contact with them, you may feel like you really know them, but this person constantly has a reason why they can't meet you in person. When this happens, this can be a real red flag that the person you're talking to is not the person that they are claiming to be. They're pretending to be somebody else, they're pretending to be in a situation that they're not really in, and that they are leading you astray because they're hoping that you'll become so attached to them that you'll be willing to send them money. So keep an eye on this. If somebody is constantly making excuses for why they can't see you, why they can't actually talk to you on the phone, why they can't have a video chat with you, those are all red flags. Make sure that you never send money to somebody that you have not personally met. Even if you have met them, be careful. People can pretend to be somebody that they aren't. The screen capture here is of Marcel Andre Van Tour. This is actually a real person from Canada. He is one of Canada's most notorious romance scammers. He has stolen thousands of dollars from women, people he had met, people he had visited their homes. He pretends to be somebody who has jobs in different places in Canada and the United States, claims that he suddenly needs you to help him because his business is suddenly short cash for some reason. Women send him money and then he disappears. He has cheated women across North America out of thousands and thousands of dollars. This is a real situation. Each of these women thought that this man genuinely loved them, and yet he was taking money from them the whole time. He's just willing to put in the time and energy to do kind of the long con. So make sure that you are not handing over money to people. In general, this is a general warning for all things phone calls, social media, online dating. Store and brand gift cards are not legal tender. If somebody is asking you to go buy gift cards to give to them because they have to pay for something, that can't happen. Somebody cannot use an Apple gift card to pay a debt. If somebody calls you and says that they're from the IRS, or they call you and they say they're from the FBI, you cannot pay government fines with any kind of store or brand gift card. You can't even use like a Visa gift card for that kind of stuff. They're not going to let you do that. You cannot use gift cards to pay bills or fines. So if anybody is ever asking you to go get them a gift card because they have to pay a fee or a fine, don't do it. They cannot use them for that. They are scamming you. Gift cards are for gifts. It's for if you want to give somebody a gift and they can go shopping, that's totally different. But people cannot use gift cards to pay off debts. So if anyone ever is asking you to get a gift card to pay someone back or to pay a fee or a fine, you can't do that. They are scamming you. Another scam is the change of venue. Now, we touched on this earlier, where somebody might say, oh, let's meet in public, and then suddenly they want to meet in private. This is the digital version of that. When you first start communicating with somebody, whether you're on social media or you're on a dating app, you are working through the confines of that app. That's the only way you guys can contact each other. One well-known scam is to introduce yourself to somebody, start flattering them, and then they're going to ask you for your private email, or they're going to ask you for your private phone number. You want to make sure that until you really know somebody, that you're staying within the confines of whatever app you met them in. This means if you are using Words with Friends and you've started talking to somebody on Words with Friends, don't give them your private email right away, or make sure that you've created that webmail that you're only using for online dating. That way, if you do need to sever contact, you don't have to get rid of your entire email address. You're just using that one email. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Don't start communicating outside of an app with somebody. Stay within the dating app that you met them in, or in the social media app that you met them in, until you get to know them better. Do not hand out your physical address to anyone until you've known them for a bit. Also, don't hand out your private phone number to somebody until you're a little bit more confident in how well you know them. It's a lot harder to go about changing your cell phone number than it is to just get a different webmail address. If you are talking to somebody online and you start to notice inconsistencies with what they're telling you, this is one of those gut feelings that you don't want to ignore. If you remember somebody telling you something and then later on, a couple days later, they're telling you something completely different, that's a red flag. You want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. The example that I have on the screen here is somebody was meeting up with somebody in the app Words with Friends. It's a game. You may have played it yourself, but it's actually a game that a lot of scammers use to try to find targets. You're able to talk to people within the game, and people will use that to try to strike up friendships, and friendships where they might start asking you for money. So in this particular situation, this person met someone who's from China. They're talking about where she's from. What does your name mean? Oh, my name means in the honor of his deeds. She said that I look like her dad. A few days later, they moved outside of Words with Friends, and now they're in a private message group where they're DMing each other. And now it says, oh, okay, what's the difference in time over there? You keep disappearing. What does your name mean in Chinese again? This time the person says, oh, to stretch open a bow. So they're giving a completely different meaning of their name. The person says, wait a minute, you told me different. What's that? You don't remember? Oh, so much hard work load on me, LOL. This is a red flag. The person has changed completely what they were telling you. The reason why this tends to happen is when you're dealing with somebody who's a scammer, they usually have several people that they're talking to at once, several different targets at once. So they'll forget what they told one person and they'll tell you something different. So if somebody starts changing their information, they start changing what they told you, that is something to be concerned about. Keep an eye on that. That could definitely mean that this person is not real, or there's somebody that's trying to target several people at once. If you're ever talking with somebody online in any form, social media or a dating app, don't ever let somebody emotionally push you to do something that you don't want to do. You want to make sure that you are not being emotionally manipulated. The example on my screen here is an actual screenshot of a scammer's message to someone. The person had asked for money. They wanted somebody to help them complete a financial transaction by opening a bank account for them. When the person who was the target refused to do it because they felt really uneasy about it, this was the reply that they got. What's going on? I thought we're both in love. You said you love me. You'll always be by my side. I'm going crazy. Please talk to me. All the crying emojis. Why are you doing this to me? You didn't love me from the start. You are hurting me badly. I'll be on my way back home now. Hopefully my phone works when I'll be expecting your reply. I can't give up. Please don't give up on me. I'm madly in love with you. This is somebody using emotional manipulation to try to get somebody to do what they want. This shouldn't happen in any relationship. Somebody should not be trying to emotionally manipulate you into getting you to do something you're not comfortable with. This goes for financial transactions or personal things. You do not want somebody who's trying to manipulate you. So if somebody starts taking this kind of tack with you, just emotionally pressuring you or saying you don't like me, that's why you won't do this for me, these are not the kinds of things that you want from a relationship. So definitely take a step back if that happens. So something to keep in mind, as we were saying, a lot of the scams that happen are not necessarily financial. Online abuse is real, and it's something that you need to be aware of. It's also something that you need to be ready to stand up for yourself and not accept. Online contact can become abusive. It doesn't have to, again, be violent or financial, but emotional manipulation and maltreatment are not acceptable in any situation, not online, not by phone, or not in person. If somebody is yelling at you, if they are threatening you, if they are trying to make you feel bad about yourself, all of these things are not acceptable. There's different types of online abuse, and you should be wary of all of them. If anybody does anything like this to you, this is not somebody you should be engaging with online in any form. Cyberbullying or cyber stalking, these are blanket terms for repeated, unrelenting online harassment from multiple sources. They could be calling you or texting you or emailing you. You do not want to engage with anybody that's trying to do this to you. Somebody that's cyberbullying or cyber stalking you, if they are being to the point where they're affecting your quality of life, you can contact the police about that. That is harassment, and they're not allowed to do that. Concern trolling is actually something that happens quite a bit. And it's a way that some people will try to disarm you and get you to be open to things that you might not have originally been open to. I'll give you an example. Somebody might say, oh, hey, I saw your picture. And you know what? Don't worry about your hair. Your hair's not that bad. I bet you if you did this to your hair, it would look better. Or, you don't look that old. You could get Botox or maybe even a facelift, and then you would look better. That is concern trolling. Concern trolling means that somebody is pretending that they care about you, but they're using little demeaning tactics behind you to undermine your confidence the whole time that they're talking to you. So watch out for that. That's the way that some people will try to get you to be like, oh, well, if I look that bad, maybe I do need to settle for this person. Don't accept that. People shouldn't be approaching you from that standpoint. Another type of online abuse is catfishing. Catfishing is something that a lot of us have heard of before, but it means that you're pretending to be somebody else, pretending to be someone that you're not. The example that I have on the screen here is actually from a famous show that used to be on MTV called Catfish. And there was a person on there named Spencer. And Spencer had been in an online relationship for about 6 years with a person that he thought was singer Katy Perry. He truly, genuinely believed that this person was Katy Perry. He would message with this person, even talk to them on the phone several times, but was really never able to make personal contact with them. But their conversations moved to private messaging right away. The scammer was able to isolate Spencer, and when he found out that this person was not Katy Perry, who he thought it was, he was absolutely devastated. This is a really cruel thing to do to somebody, but there are people out there that will do this. They're pretending to be somebody else to get attention, to have a specific person's attention. So be super, super careful. If somebody is claiming to be somebody, but you never really get to meet them, or there's a whole bunch of reasons why they can't publicly talk to you, that's something to really, really be concerned about. Another type of online abuse would be revenge images. This would be somebody sharing or threatening to share intimate images of you. Sometimes it's even somebody that has photoshopped an image to make it look like an intimate image is of you. Anybody that's doing that, that's a crime. That's blackmail, and you should notify the local police department as soon as you can. Another type of abuse is dog whistling. This is actually something where you're using a word or symbol that has a double coded meaning. So somebody could be saying something to you that they're pretending is something that's very innocent, but you can tell that they're saying it to you because they're trying to insult you. That's what a dog whistle is. So if somebody is making you feel uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, you don't have to accept that. Another form of online abuse is online gender harassment. This would be, there's several different kinds of this actually. Depending if somebody is non-binary, somebody could be dead naming a person. That means using a name that somebody used to use, but they don't use anymore. And using that name repeatedly to harass someone. There's also something called lollipopping. This is like kind of infantilizing women or even men and making them feel like an object. There's another type is sextortion. That would be somebody that is threatening to tell tales about your sex life to someone else. There's unsolicited pornography. Somebody might be sending you pictures that you don't want to see, whether that picture is of themselves or someone else. All of these are harassment, and all of these are not something that you should ever be okay with. You do not have to accept any of that. You don't have to accept unsolicited sexualization. If somebody's making comments about you or your body that you are uncomfortable with, you do not have to accept that at any point. You can always cease contact with somebody. If they continue, that is harassment, and you can file a police report for that. And finally, another type of online abuse is phishing. This is where somebody pretends to be a trusted group, a trusted business, or a trusted person. Again, it kind of goes along with somebody that's catfishing. It's somebody pretending to be somebody else. But phishing can also happen just in general. You might get messages in your email or get texts that look like they might be from your bank. Be super careful when you're getting any message that you didn't ask for. If you haven't contacted your bank because you have a question, but suddenly they're saying, oh, here's the information you asked for with a link, don't click on that. If somebody is reaching out to you and claiming to be from, oh, I'm so-and-so's best friend, I need you to call me. Be really careful with that. You want to make sure that you're verifying who you're contacting or what you're clicking on before you do that. If there's ever a question about where something is from, don't use the information that somebody has sent to you. Do your own finding of the phone number to call, the name of the person to call, the website to go to. Don't just click on what the person sent you. If you ever need to find what's the web address, the official web address for the Gurnee Police Department, what is the official phone number for Chase Bank, what is the official phone number for the person that lives at 224 North Oak Plain Road in Gurnee, that's the library. If you need that type of information, you can always contact the library. We can look that kind of stuff up for you and make sure that you get the right contact to get a hold of somebody. When it comes to personal, like an individual, as long as the person has a listed phone number, we can always get you that information as well. But just be aware that people are using these types of online abuse to try to control people. Be aware of them, and that way you'll be less likely to fall victim to them. So I know I've scared you with a lot of information about things that you should be watching out for and things that you should be cautious about. But what do you do if somebody actually does scam you? What do you do if somebody is targeting you? It's really not the end of the world. There are ways that you can protect yourself. So to pick up the pieces, if you have been the victim of a dating scam or somebody you know has been the victim of any kind of a scam, these are the steps that you want to follow immediately. Just keep in mind that scammers are counting on leaving you feeling afraid, ashamed, and isolated. They are banking on the fact that you will be too embarrassed or sad or scared to reach out for help. That's part of the game that they're playing with you. It's part of their tactics. because they don't want to get caught, but they're trying to take advantage of you. Do not let them win. If you refuse to file a police report, or you refuse to reach out to somebody for assistance because you're sad or embarrassed, or you're just really not that sure what to do, they're winning. Don't let them win. There are ways to fight back. First of all, if somebody has targeted you financially, the first thing you want to do is contact your bank or financial institution, and you want to let them know that you think you're the victim of a scam. This is in particularly if you have sent somebody money. They can immediately help you lock down your accounts so that you will not lose any further money. They can help you cancel any transactions that you may have already initiated. You want to let them know right away. They have the resources to help you. They're aware that situations like this occur. I guarantee you are not the only person who's ever been in that situation, and they know how to help you. Second of all, you want to make sure that if somebody is targeting you, make sure you collect and store all the records of your online interactions with them. Keep all of your texts, keep your photos, keep your emails, take screenshots, keep your receipts, particularly if it's somebody you've met in person. Keep all of that information. You never know when you might need it, and it can really back up your version of events if you have to go to the police and say, hey, look, this is what happened. Save that information. It can really be useful for you. Next, you want to make sure that if somebody is harassing you or targeting you, that you file a police report with your local police department. You will notice if you go online and look up crime statistics that people are filing lots of police reports because there are more and more scams out there. The first step is always filing a police report with your local police department, particularly if you're the target of theft, blackmail, extortion, or threats of violence or physical violence. If necessary, you may want to consider contacting an attorney. I know that's a scary thing to consider, and it sounds like an expensive thing to consider, but I guarantee you being the victim of a scam will be more expensive. Next, you're going to want to report the incident to the federal authorities or even the state authorities. You're going to want to contact two agencies to begin with. These are two agencies that can help you right away. One is the Federal Trade Commission. They actually have a website at ftc.gov/complaint where you can file a federal complaint. Doing this is going to help other people who may be in the same situation as you, and it will prevent these scammers from scamming further people. The FTC can actually immediately go in and start looking for their IP address and try to shut them down. You can also report it to the FBI. Their website is ic3.gov, specifically for reporting incidents. Again, reporting the person who's trying to target you will help prevent this from happening further and will also help in the investigation to stop what they're doing to you. Third, you're going to want to contact the dating or social media site where contact was initiated. Let's say you were on Tinder and you met somebody, or Match.com and you met somebody, but it turns out they were trying to scam you. Reporting that to Tinder or Match.com allows them to shut that profile down and start finding out exactly who was actually initiating contact to you. It's all part of trying to make sure that, number one, you get restitution, and number two, that the person can't do it to somebody else. So make sure you are reporting these incidents. Next, you want to consider subscribing to a credit monitoring site. This is something I strongly recommend. I know it can be kind of an expensive thing if you're charging like $25 to $30 per month. However, if you have been the victim of a scam, it is something you're going to want to do because then you can make sure that nobody else is taking advantage of you. You also can just review your credit report. You can actually get that for free at least once a year. You can get a free credit report. Make sure you go over it very, very carefully. Make sure that you're not seeing accounts or transactions on there that you have not initiated. You want to watch for the addition of suspicious accounts or transactions. I personally recently had my identity stolen, and I've had to go out and get a credit monitoring service, and I've had to make sure that I keep on top of all of that. There's lots of different services out there that they can provide for you that will help you lock down your personal information, make you lock down your bank accounts, help you lock down your social security number, your IRS information, all of that. So it's something to really consider, particularly if you believe that you have been targeted. You're going to want to do that because it will further protect you from any additional damage. So if you are the victim of any online scam or harassment, not just dating, not just online romance scams, but these agencies can help you. You're going to want to consider reaching out to, again, the Federal Trade Commission, that's the FTC. You can report fraud of any kind at reportfraud.ftc.gov. You can also, if you've had your identity stolen, you can go to the Federal Trade Commission Identity Theft Portal. That's www.identitytheft.gov. This helps them track down where these thieves are going with this information, where they're getting it from, where they're originating from. A lot of times these scams are originating overseas, and they're using call centers in other countries to try to get information from you. You can also, again, file a report with the FBI at ic3.gov. I strongly recommend, if you've had somebody targeting you locally, you want to go to the Village of Gurnee Police Department. Their phone number is 599-7500. You can also, if you live outside of Gurnee or if you're in an unincorporated area, you can file a report with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. You can also contact the state. I know when my own personal information was stolen, I actually did file a report with the state as well. You can go through the Secretary of State's office will allow you to file reports with them. You can also file reports with the state police. So if you're looking for more information and more guidance for safe dating, whether it's online or in person, because people can scam you online. You can also meet somebody at a bar and they can try to scam you. But if you're looking for safe dating advice, these are some articles that I strongly recommend for you. SafeWise is a wonderful organization, and they have some really great info on how to keep yourself safe. AARP is actually a wonderful organization that offers a lot of personal assistance to people. But since so many of these scams are targeted toward older people, particularly retired people, they tend to have a lot more savings. They tend to be, a lot of times they've lost a spouse and they might be lonely. That's why they're being targeted. AARP has a lot of information about how to keep yourself dating, particularly as an older American. You can also go to Get Safe Online, which gives you lots of information about keeping yourself safe while you're personally dating. And connectsafely.org is a nonprofit organization that helps people understand how to keep themselves safe, but yet connected to each other. Each of these are great articles. I really recommend that you take a look at them. All righty, so I've actually gone through the whole presentation. I did want to ask each of you a couple of anonymous questions. I have some polls that I wanted to throw out there. Let's see, the first one that you're probably seeing here, I'm going to launch it for you. Each of you should be getting a question, and you should see it up on your screen. You can choose to answer or not, you don't have to. But I'm wondering, how many of you have ever tried a dating service? Have you ever tried any kind of online dating service? There's lots of in-person dating services. There's things like Events and Adventures and other things like that. But how many of you have actually tried one? A lot of times people haven't tried it, but they're considering it. I know I personally have never tried an online dating service. I'm married, but I've never personally tried an online dating service. But I know I have lots of friends who have, and I have friends who have had very positive experiences using online dating services. So it can really be an interesting experience. So I kind of was interested to see how many of you guys had actually tried one. Looks like a lot of us have, a lot of us have not. So that's an interesting result. I appreciate your feedback there. Let's see, we'll try another one here. How about, how many of you feel like you've ever fallen for a scam? We'll try that one. Some of you may not know if you've ever fallen for a scam before, but have you ever felt like somebody has taken advantage of you? Somebody has scammed you, whether it's on time or money or even just affection. A lot of times people are more worried that they're going to fall victim to a scam than they actually have had one happen to them. But if you have had somebody scam you, it's kind of a really raw feeling. It makes you feel really nervous and upset, and you feel really violated. Great. Well, I'm actually glad to see that a lot of you have not been scammed before. That's a good thing. Now, the last question I wanted to ask is, do you know anyone who has been a victim of a scam, yourself included? So we'll throw that one out there. A lot of us have heard horror stories from people. We've heard people say, oh, I know somebody that got scammed, or I heard of this person who got scammed. There are a lot of horror stories out there. I'm glad to hear that most of you have not been a victim of a scam or know somebody who has. That means that you're being vigilant. Hopefully, the information that we've gone over tonight will be useful for you going forward and even for helping some of your friends or relatives. I know a lot of us have older parents who we might be concerned about if they're looking to go back into the dating pool. You worry that somebody's going to take advantage of someone close to you. Feel free to share this information with them. Again, the point of going through this type of information isn't to scare people, and it's not to try to make people feel like they can't reach out to other people. But sharing this information means that we're making people aware of the ways that other people are trying to take advantage of someone. So don't let it scare you away from trying a dating service or even having a friend that's trying a dating service. Just be aware of what the pitfalls are. Being aware of what the dangers are and being aware of how to fix them if something happens are really the big step there. You want to make sure that you're entering into any new experience with open eyes and that you're ready to be able to take care of yourself in that situation. So I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask a question. You can ask it in the chat, or you can just ask a question on the Q&A button. But if you have a question that you'd rather not ask right now, completely understandable, please feel free to reach out to me at rmurray@wnpl.info, or you can also reach out to the library directly at askus@wnpl.info. Those questions come straight to our reference desk, and we would answer them like we would answer any other question. You can also reach out to us by phone, or you can reach out to us on our chat that we have on our library's website. You'll just see the little chat symbol there. But I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. I wish you the best of luck as you're meeting people online. And please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you here at the library. Thanks for being here.